Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. This is also from the YouTube comments. William, a couple times, has asked me for my ACC preseason player of the year. I believe William is an NC State fan, so he wants to get into it. He said, Torres, who is your ACC preseason player of the year in basketball? Glad you're back. Have a good holiday. Looking forward to your football content, hopefully coming together soon. So this was obviously a question that was sent in before 4th of July. William, appreciate your support of the show. I think you're a North Carolina State fan. You should be fired up for Will Wade. And when I look at who could potentially be my preseason ACC player of the year, I think it comes down to three guys. Cam Boozer Duke, Mikel Brown Jr. Louisville, and of course, your boy Darrion Williams at NC State. So let's just dive in very quickly to the three of them. One, Cam Boozer, listen, we've talked so much about him. And, I'll even say this about Cam Boozer too, is I think sometimes in high school recruiting, you're a victim of your own success, right? If you are very good early, I think what ends up happening is you default to, or it defaults to, the conversation of, who is catching up, who has surpassed you, who is this, who is that. And so Cam Boozer's an interesting story because, he's a guy that has basically been, known and an accomplished part of this recruiting class, the 2025 class, basically since he was in like 8th, 9th grade. And it just feels like everyone just got tired of raving about Cam Boozer. And so I only bring it up because I just wonder if he's a guy that like maybe we've sort of forgotten just how good this kid is. 6'11". By the way, I think everybody knows, son of Carlos Boozer. But, this is a guy, and it's funny, he didn't play with the Team USA U19 team that just won the gold medal. But this is, along with AJ DeBonsa, along with Koa Pete, I think he's one of the most accomplished players in the history of amateur basketball, which sounds crazy until you consider this. Even not playing for Team USA, this is a player that has already won 2 FIBA gold medals, including last year. He did play with DeBonsa. He did play with some of these other guys, Koa Pete on, I think it was a U18 team last summer. So he's already won 2 FIBA gold medals. He's already won Peach Jam 3 times. And he won 3 state championships in the state of Florida. And so you look at Duke, they obviously have to replace essentially all of their production. Now, I will say I think there's some players that didn't play as much on last year's roster that have a chance to be really good, most notably Isaiah Evans. But at the same time, you look at Cam Boozer, and I think he's probably should be the preseason ACC player of the year. I don't think it's hyperbole to say that I think he could replace most of the production of Cooper Flagg. Now, he's not as much of a facilitator and playmaker as Cooper Flagg, but can he get 20 and 10 for you? Yeah, I think he can. I know getting 20 and 10 is not as easy as it sounds, but I would say Cam Boozer is probably number 1 on that list for me. I don't know if he'd be number 2, but the guy that obviously has blown up over the last 2 to 3 weeks, and a player that I don't know that I would have considered him for this conversation if we had done this question about 2 or 3 weeks ago, Mikel Brown Jr. from Louisville. So we talked a ton about, but this is basically the Mikel Brown Jr. hour here on the Aaron Torres pod, because 2 Mondays ago, we reacted to the opening weekend of the FIBA U19 tournament where Mikel Brown Jr. was the breakout star. Then on Monday's show this week, we reacted to some of the stuff that happened over the weekend as Team USA took home gold. And listen, AJ DeBonsa won the MVP of the tournament, whatever. Mikel Brown Jr. was the breakout star of that event. Led Team USA in scoring, led Team USA in assists. And I think the other thing that was kind of relevant, 42% shooting from behind the three-point arc. So a guy that was getting others involved, getting buckets, 42%. As I mentioned on the show the other night, I still see people listing him at 6'2", 6'3". I know the Louisville official website has him listed at 6'5". I think he's about 6'5". And if you're a 6'5" lead guard, 1, you're a future lottery pick. 2, you could be ACC player of the year. I think the only concern with Mikel Brown Jr., that backcourt is so good. And you're not going to rely on him every single night to get you 20 points. And so we talked about Louisville and Pat Kelsey earlier, but that's a program where Isaac McNeely can get you 20 on any given night. Ryan Conwell can. Some of the bigger guys, Javon Hadley, Pryor could as well. So I just don't know that he's going to statistically put up enough, but he has been a breakout star. He's been so impressive. Mikel Brown Jr., I would put in that mix. And then to the question and to the commenters, again, I think he is an NC State fan. I do think Darrion Williams, the transfer from Texas Tech, would have to be in that conversation. I know he's not a returning player, but obviously a returning college basketball player transferred in from Texas Tech. It's interesting. Another clip that we should have pulled that I forgot to ask for. We had Will Wade on the pod, about 3-4 weeks ago. He said that Darrion Williams, according to NC State's own analytics, database, and they do things a little bit different. It's an internal database. He said Darrion Williams was the best player in college basketball last year. Now, I don't know what goes into that analytics, and I'm still a little confused if he was the best player in the portal or college basketball in general. But you see the stats that he put up. 21 points in the NCAA tournament. Over 15 points over the course of the season. I know JT Topman got so much of the credit, but down the stretch, he was probably Texas Tech's best player. Again, 24 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists per game in the final 3 games of the NCAA tournament. Averaged 21 per game in the tournament overall, the 5 games that Texas Tech played. And he is just a versatile player. And I think he's going to have a chance to have a great deal of success in that NC State program because he's going to be the focal point. He was not the focal point the last couple years at Texas Tech because they had a guy by the name of JT Toppin, who ended up winning Big 12 Player of the Year. By the way, for the exact quote from Will Wade, he's one of the most impactful players in the country in our independent metric system. He's the number 1 player in the country. I did follow up on that. I'll be real. I was a little confused by Coach Wade's answer because I said, when you say number 1 in the country, do you mean transfer or do you just mean in general? And he said in general, among the returning players to college basketball, whatever. NC State thinks the world of him. They're going to run the offense through him. I think Wade, because of what happened at LSU, he gets he gets a lot of credit for the recruiting, and he should. Naz Reid just signed a $25 million a year contract, Cam Thomas, etc. I don't think people realize how good of an X's and O's guy this guy is. He's the total package. He has a special player in Darrion Williams, and I think he's going to take advantage. I would say today, Darrion Williams and Cam Boozer are probably 1 and 1A in some order. I don't know if Mikel Brown Jr., I think that team is so deep that could hurt him. By the way, I'll be curious who kind of emerges at North Carolina. I just saw that Luka Bogovic, remember that name? He was the 21-year-old European star who committed in late May, early June. He just got to campus. We talked about Caleb Wilson earlier this week. Are they a 1-2 punch? Is Bogovic the guy? Is Caleb Wilson the guy? I would say Darrion Williams, to me, along with Cam Boozer, is the answer there.